Next up on the tee, originally from Illinois, she's a professional golfer, also doing teaching in Naples, Florida. Her client list is very illustrious because it happens to include my mother. We've got Lauren Beaudreau, her teacher, joining us here on the Course of Life. Lauren, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, you're down there in paradise. First off, I got to get it out of the way. How is my mom as a student? No holds barred. Give me your honest opinion of her as a student.
She's a good student. We're making a lot of progress. I think we've had 4 lessons now, and she's trending in the right direction.
Nice. Okay, good to hear. Just wanted to make sure she wasn't a menace or pest. So shout out to my mom for being a great student and picking up the game and playing consistently down there in paradise. It's a great place to be, and I look forward to being there soon myself as well too. You currently do, like I said, a mix of teaching and competitive playing now. When you grew up playing in Illinois, you're originally from just outside of Chicago area. Did you always know golf was going to be in your life, or were you playing other sports as a youngster?
Yeah, I played pretty much all of the sports growing up, but golf always had a special place in my heart, and I had some early success in junior golf. And so it was something that I was really passionate about. And I've wanted to be a professional golfer since I was probably 11 or 12.
I was going to ask maybe when was that moment you thought you would want to be pro? So that was pretty early indeed. And shout out to you, great high school career. I saw the highlight of the state title of your own, the Illinois state titles. That's very cool to see. And then you decided to go play at Notre Dame. Tell everyone a little bit about kind of what went into that decision, and then the student athlete experience of being part of the Fighting Irish.
Yeah, so I committed to Notre Dame when I was a sophomore in high school. So I committed quite early, and I was really excited about the opportunity to play there because I really wanted a school that had great academics and a really competitive golf program. And I felt that Notre Dame was one of the few places that could offer me both of those things. And so I was really excited. It was, only 90 minutes away from my house, and I was a big Notre Dame fan. And so I jumped at that opportunity and I committed when I was a sophomore in high school.
That's awesome. That's one of those schools for a more national audience. It like almost doesn't even feel like it's a real school you can actually like attend and be a part of. Being an athlete there and being a student there for your time, what were some of your favorite memories on campus?
Yeah, being an athlete there is so special. I mean, they really roll out the red carpet for you. And so just the facilities that we had were incredible. We had the Warren Golf Course, which actually hosted a U.S. Senior Open a couple years ago. So it's a fantastic golf course. My game really grew there. And so I'm thankful I had such a wonderful place to play. But just from, the nutritionists to the workout rooms, to, the student facilities and academic facilities. I mean, I was just so fortunate and lucky to have so many people that were trying to help me, chase my dream.
Nice. Very cool. And so after graduating from Notre Dame, congrats on that as well, too. What's it been like for you post-graduation with the decision to play, and how much and how are you treating this time in your life, navigating, golf in your life?
Yeah, it was always something I was gonna do, and for me, I had my best season of collegiate golf in my final year, and so I won the NCAA regional in May, right before I graduated from my graduate year, and so I felt like I was in good form to decide to go pro, and I was fortunate to make it through stage 1 of Q school. My very first time, and I also won the Illinois Open that summer. So, it was always something I was going to do, but I also felt like I was in really good form coming out of Notre Dame, and I had some success early on, and so I'm glad that I gave it a shot.
Very cool, nice. It's a really interesting life navigating professional golf waters. Where are you now with like playing on a regular schedule versus teaching? I see you doing a little bit more teaching, but what's the mix like for you on a month-to-month basis, and how do you make your schedule like for the year ahead?
Yeah, so this past year I played on the Epson tour, and I did not play very well. It was kind of my first prolonged slump of my golf career, but I learned a lot when I was competing out there, and I decided I felt a little bit on the burnt out side, but I was still so passionate about golf that I didn't want to give up competitive golf. So I just decided that I was going to work on my game and, make a couple swing changes, but also stay in the golf business, which is what I'm most passionate about. So I started working at Eagle Lakes in Naples a couple months ago, and I've mixed in teaching. I've done some clinics, some golf schools, some one-on-one lessons, and just being around the golf course every day, has really helped me. And I'm still so passionate about golf. It's what I love. And so, I'm going to play in some other mini tour events this upcoming year.
Okay.
I have my U.S. Open qualifier coming up. I'll play the Florida Open, the Illinois Open, maybe a couple women's all pro tour events, but I'm still going to sprinkle in competitive golf, but I also like this other avenue of golf as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it's in a really nice place. Podcast listeners have heard me talk about how much fun I have in Paradise when I'm down there in Southwest Florida. I have the ability to go twice a year. You're pretty much there almost full time when you're teaching right now. Tell everyone a little bit about what it's like, to be, your age and having Southwest Florida as a hub for you to teach right now.
Yeah, so my parents have had a place on Marco Island for about 10 years now. And
Nice. Okay. Cool.
after I graduated from Notre Dame, I was like, well, I'm not going to stay in Chicago. I want to go down there. And so it seemed like a no-brainer to really work on my golf game. And, you can play golf year-round, 365 days a year. So, it is truly paradise. And I'm so fortunate to be in such a area that has so many golf courses, so many people that love golf. And yeah, I absolutely love living down here. And I really have no desire to go back up north.
I know, it's so great. I know, it's just like my wife, who's also from Illinois. Whenever we get down there, she's like, how can we make this more regular? How can we spend more time here? What's a day off the golf course look like for you in Southwest Florida? If it's just a free day for you and the sun's out and shining, what do you like to get into there in the Naples area?
Oh yeah, I love spending time outdoors, and that's what I love most about here. When it's a weekend or an off day, beach walks, bike rides, just walks outside, eating, even dining outside. Outdoor dining, just swimming, jet skiing, anything. I absolutely love the outdoors, and just the sunshine makes me happy down here.
Yeah, it's great. I know it's very therapeutic when I'm down there. It's kind of like a nice reset place. So you have that almost full time now teaching there at Eagle Lakes. Very cool. Again, it's Lauren Beaudreau joining us here on the Course of Life. LaurenGolf.com to learn more for lessons, bio, and her highlights as well too. I wanted to touch on a few things that I saw on your website specifically. You post great video highlights on your site, by the way. One of which is you beating Marissa Wentzler in a U.S. amateur match. Describe what that day is like, and people may know her name now from Good fame as well too.
Yeah, I grew up playing a lot of junior golf and collegiate golf with Marissa, and we had quite the battle at the 2020 U.S. Women's Amateur. We actually went to 19 holes. We were back and forth all day, and it was a tough dog leg first hole, and I hit my best drive on that hole of the week, and I told my dad, who was caddying, I go, I'm ending it right here. And so I hit a great 9-iron up there, and then the putt is on my website, but I made about a 15-footer to close out that match, and she's a good friend of mine, and we still laugh about that today because she's doing really well with the good girls. And I actually had the opportunity I was shadowing and interning with the Golf Channel the last couple months, and I got to go out to Phoenix and cover the Good Desert Open. And so that was my first time broadcasting on live television, and it was actually covering Marissa and the other girls. And so that was kind of a cool moment that we've been growing up competing so long together, and we're still close.
Yeah, for those who don't know, they know maybe the name Good from YouTube golf fame, but they've done this really cool thing where they're now doing kind of these night events, and that Good Desert Open, that's right during the week of the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Is that right?
Yep. The day before.
What's that setting like? Describe that setting for people who don't know what that's like, but there's like a legit crowd and gallery for night par 3 golf, watching some of the biggest names in YouTube golf compete at a really high level too.
Yes, I was really surprised at how many people attended, and the atmosphere was crazy. And I mean, the gates opened, a couple hours before the event started, and there was a line wrapped around the building, to see some of the best YouTube
Yeah.
golfers. And it was really cool to be, a part of Golf Channel for that, and to walk along and cover that, because they were very passionate. And it was so nice because there's so much more, fan engagement and fan interaction than at a normal professional golf event. So, you have people on the sides of the ropes, and they get to engage with the golfers, which was the cool part.
Yeah, it's definitely part of the future of the game for sure. And definitely content is the way with that style of the game to bring it to whole new audiences. So it was cool to see that you're part of the broadcast of that. One other cool highlight you did have on your website as well too is a shot where you got full on in the water, like shoes and socks off and everything, and you made a gigantic splash for a shot that landed out on the green. So tell all of our viewers at home, what's the secret to actually hitting it out of the water? I feel like that's kind of like a meme and a joke that never really gets executed by us amateurs out there.
Yeah, so that was actually really funny because that was my first time ever attempting a shot like
It
that.
was.
And it was in match play in the round of 32. And it's match play. So if I lose the hole, I lose the hole. So my dad was like, no time like live television to try it. So I got in there, and he said, I just want to see gunk. I want to make sure you hit down on that, and that water and gunk flies out of that water hazard. And that, the tendency is to try and lift up and help the ball up, and it's never going to come out. So I got in there, and I hit down on that water as hard as I possibly could, and it worked out for me. But that was honestly the first time I ever attempted that shot, and so it was pretty cool that that was on camera, and I pulled it off.
Yeah, and you could have gotten a lot messier. I feel like. What was the mess level on one to 10 scale for you there?
It was not bad, and it was in Mississippi in the middle of the summer, so the water actually felt pretty good, and it was nice. But I got made fun of for those tan lines for quite some time.
For sure. Yeah. Speaking of tan lines or lack thereof, a lot of our audience is listening to this as we're just rounding the corner here in April. Golf season, like just getting started for a lot of people. You remember what that was like. You don't remember that anymore now where you are. But for everyone out there who is like maybe just revving the engine up now and getting their golf season started from an instruction standpoint, what should people be thinking about, like to appropriately start their season, their first practice, their first time hitting balls, and getting out on the course for a new year?
Yeah, I think give yourself a little bit of patience, because going from hitting off of mats to then having to hit a chip off of a tight lie for the first time this spring is always the hardest transition. So really taking your time with those short game shots was always the biggest thing for me, because that's the first part of the game that you seem to lose when you're just hitting off of mats. And so I remember I was always so excited to just chip up and downs, test it out the very first opportunity I could when the weather was nice.
Yeah, for sure. Indeed. Got to take it slow. And yeah, short game first. Always spend more time on that. That's my main tip. If there's ever an amateur that asks me anything, I don't profess to be an instructor or a pro, but I tell everyone, however much time you're spending on putting and chipping, just go ahead and double it and then just start with that.
Hmm.
That's a tough game indeed, and it starts there. Again, Lauren Beaudreau joining us here on the Course of Life. A couple fun questions before we wrap here. Any hole-in-ones for you? What's your hole-in-one count at?
Yes, I've had 3 hole-in-ones, and actually my first
Wow.
hole-in-one was on a par 4. And so my fun fact is that all my hole-in-ones have been in tournaments. So I've had a little bit of a drought recently, but yeah, all 3 of them have been in tournaments.
The ace on the par four, what happened? No offense, but did you get like a golf cart path bounce or something? How did that happen?
Well, I think I was 11 years old, and it was in a US Kids a
Nice.
regional event, and it was to get to Pinehurst for US Kids World. And I was actually down 2 shots on going into the 17th hole, and I went hole in one and then birdie, and I ended up winning by 2. And so I got to go to Pinehurst for US Kids Worlds.
Man, what a shining moment as an 11-year-old.
Yeah, oh
I
yeah.
can imagine the
Oh yeah.
imprint that had on you in that moment from a competitive standpoint.
Yeah, it was, I think it was like 224 yards, and it just landed right in front of the green and rolled right in. And my dad lifted me up, and it was just so exciting.
Nice. Love that. Okay. I always ask about the aces because I know someone always has a story behind that. Indeed. All right. I buttered you up a little bit, talked a lot about your career, which seems to be going very well from the playing and coaching standpoint. You're in a great spot in Naples, Florida. But I got to ask a little bit about Notre Dame specifically. Kind of big controversial year, specifically for Notre Dame football. They were left out of the playoff. What do you think about Notre Dame and Notre Dame football? Like, should they keep being an independent? Should they try and join a conference? What's the future of that program in this current kind of 12-team playoff landscape look like?
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten away with it for so long being an independent, and it's really worked out for them. But I feel like going forward, they might have to join a conference, just so that they can get a little more help from the committee, because that was definitely tough this year. So I think that down the road, maybe they should, but they're doing so well and they're making a lot of money the way that they're doing it right now. So yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with the dollar bills, like the NBC and all that stuff behind the scenes that people don't think about. So yes, they're motoring along. I'm curious to see what that future looks like for your alma mater. I'm curious. We love to end with food questions. Notre Dame dining, like for athletes, rate Notre Dame calf scene for an athlete there during your playing time. How was it?
Well, unfortunately, Notre Dame got rid of athlete-specific dining about 2 years before I got there. And
Jeez.
they, all of the athletes, they ate with the regular students. And so I did miss out on the special athlete dining experience, which I have learned that they are starting to implement that again.
Of course, yeah.
A couple of my my unofficial visits at other colleges, that was a big selling point for them. They would be like, oh, you're going to get steak and lobster and seafood and stuff, every night at our athlete dining. And so I did miss out on that. And but they had other perks. So
Nice. Love that. Interesting perspective on the Notre Dame dining scene. All right. We always end with our 19th hole question, Lauren. So this is an important one. You get done playing a round of golf and you get into the clubhouse. What's your favorite order at the 19th hole? Give me a meal and a drink at the 19th hole.
oh, I would probably go with a nice juicy burger and a Diet Coke.
Yep. Can't lie. That's a tried and true combo. What's on the burger for you? Fill it up.
Oh, maybe let's see, some cheddar cheese, a little bacon, a little bit of burger sauce, and maybe a pretzel bun.
Yep. Good call indeed. Love that order from Lauren Beaudreau. Thanks again so much for hopping on the Course of Life podcast. Best of luck with the playing and the teaching this year, and hit them straight next time you're out there.
All right, thank you very much for having me.